How big can I get my heart to be?
Thought Media Network proudly presents
How much love can I get flowing out of me?
The Real Talk Sisters. Deep, unfiltered, soulful conversations with Reverend Dr. Pjae Stanley, Reverend Kim Andrews, and Reverend Melinda Wood Allen.
How big can I get my heart to be?
Join us for Real Talk on Real Issues. Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Central, 1 o'clock Mountain. And now, let's join the Real Talk Sisters.
How big can I get my heart to be?
All right. Hi, sister. How you
Hello
doing?
there. How are
Hi.
you?
It's a good day. So it's a good day. Lots of things to do and lots of things on this particular day getting done. Normally there's a lot to do and not all of it getting done. Not much of it getting done, but I got a pretty good run at it today. Not that there's not a whole bunch left on the list, but still.
Always.
Yes. Yeah. So
It's good to be here. And Reverend Mel may be joining us later. My name is Kim Andrews, and I am spiritual leader at Unity Spiritual Center, Saxe,
yeah.
Texas.
And I'm a Pjae Stanley, and I am the spiritual leader of Harmony Spiritual Center in Fort Worth, Texas. Welcome, everyone, to the show. Thanks so much for being here.
And Reverend Melinda Wood Allen's from the Church of One Love in Farmers Branch, Texas.
Yes.
And
yes.
she might be with us later and might not. So we're going to carry along.
We're going to let life do what life does.
We'll have a happy surprise if she's able to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So today we're doing a second installment of shifting, releasing, and discovering empowering paradigms. Because we talked about the first part, the shifting and releasing. And we realized we really needed to get more into the discovering of empowering paradigms, because that's important.
Yeah.
Once you know what you don't want and you release it, then you got to move into what you do want.
Exactly. And I think to me, that's a critical step when we talk about answered prayer and letting the universe know what you want. The beginning is to discover even for yourself, what I don't want. And letting go of some of those things and looking at what made you think it was okay to have those things in the first place, or that it was yours to do, when in fact it wasn't. It might have been someone else's. It might have been race consciousness. Who knows what it was? But just exploring those things and then getting clear with what do I want actually? What do I want to draw into my life? Because we know that everything is created twice, and that is first with our thinking and then with its physical appearance, manifestation on this planet. So it really behooves us to get our thoughts straight, as straight as possible. And of course, we're going to change our mind, grow, and evolve. But to say, who am I right now, and what kind of life do I want to live? Who do I want to be, and what empowers or powers that life? And so I think that's kind of what we're looking at today.
And it's really a process, this whole thing, because sometimes we have to get fixed in our minds, like you said, who do I want to be? What do I want at this level? Or project in the future, what might I want?
Correct.
What do I want to start looking for? I may not know what that looks like, but I may have in mind or in my heart some things that have been there, or I'm calling in something new, and I need to be still for a while to think about that, to pray about that.
Right.
To really decide, explore, and then decide what would I really like, and if I went here. And for me, that process has been curiosity about life and choices, and trying to think outside of the box.
Yep. Yes.
Because I was in a different box before, and I just blasted out of it, and then I go, oh, this is a wider field, or it can be.
Yeah.
So I may look to people I admire, people who are kind of my icons, or unofficial mentors. They don't know that, but I've
Yes.
had my eyes on them for a long time. Had a lot of those through the years, and
Yeah.
still do. People that I kind of watch and think, that might be a viable thing for me,
Right.
and
Right.
then be still about that for a while. And if I come to a sense of peace about it, then that may become a part of my empowering paradigm.
Yes.
But first, there's that discovery process.
Yes. Yeah.
What might it be to live like this,
Yeah.
to
Yes.
have this in my life? What if I did have a different kind of relationship? I know what I had before, I know what I don't want, but what was good about that, and how could I think more? Do I really want somebody who's good on paper, or do I want somebody who's got something about themselves, their principles, their values, how they show up in relationship, how do they treat me, how would I want to treat them, how are they with their families? I thought about that a lot. How would our families get along when I was thinking about marriage and wanting a committed relationship? What would my relationship be with my in-laws? How would the two families meld
Yes.
to like each other, that we'd want to be together and enjoy each other? Because I had a lot of friends who didn't have that. So sometimes we need to look to what we don't want and then say, oh, how do I reframe that? And how do I get what I
Right.
want?
Right.
And that was a discovery process for me. And then created a paradigm for that. What would our lives be like? What do I really want? And there were some things I called in that I had never had in relationships, like companionship.
Right.
I mean, we might have gone out to dinner and stuff like that, and and had a physical relationship, but we didn't have companionship, where the mundane things of life we shared and enjoyed because we enjoyed each other. Things like that. Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. And part of the discovery process, is you, looking at, and so we look at the, if you will call it that, if you look at what we don't want, it's just because it's easier to look at. It's I'm working on and doing some visioning about what I want my future to look like, and it starts with, what don't you want? I was watching a movie that I love. It's called Hell and High Water. It's a really great movie. It's tough. It's hard. And they're in some West Texas town, and the waitress walks up to these two guys that have two sheriffs that have walked in. They came in for lunch, and she has her little pad in her hand, and she looks at them and she says, "What don't you want?" And they're like, "I'm sorry, excuse me." And she said, "Yes, what don't you want? Here's what we have. We have this. You're going to get three things, whatever it is. We have this, this, and this, and this, and this. So what don't you want?" And they said, "Oh, okay. Well, I don't want that, and I don't want that." Okay. And so it's just, even as a restaurant person, or a person who's taking their their menu, their receipt, what they want, their order. She didn't give him the whole, you can try to order a whole bunch of stuff. No, just tell me what you don't want, because this is all we're doing, and you can just cross off some things. And that was just it was a great, I do that. I mean, I use that all the time, because it's so easy to say what you don't want. You look at these things, oh, I don't like that, and oh, I don't care for that. Okay. And so that's the beginning of looking at paradigm shifts. But to go to the next level and say, and to the empowering paradigm that we're talking about right now, has to say, well, I don't want that. What's in its place? What would look good? And I didn't do what you did, which that's a great thing to do. I never thought about in-laws and sister-in-laws, mother-in-laws, this whole other family that I might be bringing on if I got it. We're just talking about relationships right now, but it goes on down the line in terms of whatever you're bringing in, what all goes with that. And it just never occurred to me, because one paradigm that I had, which wasn't one that I wanted to change, that's not a bad paradigm. I still believe it now, but I understand it differently. I felt like love was going to fix it all. I mean, love was a, if
Yeah.
we, if we loved each other, that's all that was necessary. And so, having been in relationships and realizing that even if we both love each other a great deal, it simply isn't enough because it doesn't answer who you are, what you want to do, where you want to go, and whether the people that you're with are the partners that can help you get there. And you don't even think about that because you haven't even decided totally where you want to go. So looking at that and saying, this is who I am right now. I'd love to be this great speaker, this great person who is it helps other people serve in a life of service. Then the question that you get to ask is, what's going to support that? What do I need to know? Who do I need to be? What all of those kinds of questions, and those are the empowering paradigms. When you begin to think about who you want to be and where you want to go, you can begin to ask those questions. What's going to get me there? Because that's, I think, one of the things that stops us from even starting to do that. We don't know how we're going to get there. But knowing what we know about new thought and about our relationship with spirit, we know that we can draw in whatever we want. All we have to do is decide what we want, which is much more difficult than we would think. But I think living life, as we talked about earlier before the show, that's what life is about. The experience of life is what begins to show you, oh, okay, no, that's not quite where I wanted to go. And you can tweak it and say, okay, let me shift that idea, shift that thought, and draw in something different. So I love the fact that that's what we know in New Thought, that we can co-create our lives. We just have to simply think about what we want. And if we don't get it, we can change it, shift it, and bring something different in. That's the good news. That's the great news. And that's what this, I think, for me, that's what this talk is about. That's what this talk today. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I had a lot of examples in my life. A lot of my friends had really challenging relationships with their in-laws. That's why that was big for me. And
Got you. Got you.
there would have to be a debrief after every holiday because there would be some fight, something, or somebody didn't come in, or there were words, or somebody's not coming to the dinner because there was a fight here, and I just thought, oh my gosh. So I made like
Oh
a
my.
mental note when I was single and saying that right there. I'm not
That's not
trying
going to
to do
work.
that.
Not going to
I'm
work.
not trying to do that because I love holidays.
Right.
Love holidays. And there was no I thought, yeah, this has got to work for more than just like you said, the two of us, because of course, love with a capital L does heal all things, but the love between two people isn't enough for the
Yeah.
rest of the family. I mean, and we can work towards that, but they have to be a part of that process. You can't do it without
Correct.
them.
Correct.
And so there is a way. So I took that to universal love, to divine love, by affirming that in my prayer time, my meditation. I would talk through things. I would say, I'm loving my new relationship with my husband. He is this, he is that, he is this. I appreciate this about him. And I would say those things out loud during my meditation. And our families love each other and they love being with each other. We have great holiday time together. And it was interesting that exactly what I asked for happened, but it was even better. I mean, my mother-in-law and my mother were thick as thieves. And I mean, it got to the point where we couldn't even, when my mother moved here to Texas, we couldn't even go to Kansas without my mother because my mother-in-law would be upset. So it was just a given. Okay, let's talk. Three of us have to talk. You have to go. So you two can be together. Oh my gosh, every time.
Nice. That is
But it
so
was a
nice.
wonderful thing to have happen. Really was a wonderful thing.
It
So
is.
yeah, it was beautiful to watch. And we enjoyed it. And I loved watching the two of them giggle and laugh and do their thing together.
Unexpected blessings. Beautiful. But I love that you said that you would look at things and you would say, this is what it's going to be. This is how it's going to look. That's not That's not okay. Here's what I'd like. It's not just the opposite of that. It's that what I want is this. And what
Mhm.
we know is that how we label things is what we see. If we label something as good, this is what I want. This is the relationship that I'm looking for that's loving, open. As we're labeling it, that's what we're calling in. It's what we see.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So if you clearly labeled that or said, not just labeled it, but even said in your mind of thinking, I get to draw in the life that I want. And this is what it looks like to me. And so by saying that, by looking, I want a great relationship, looking at, and so juxtaposing things. This is how this is. I don't know what else life is other than experiences and juxtaposing our lives to the experience and saying yes or no, yes or no. Well, or maybe nothing. There's nothing. There's no feeling here. I'm not really sure it needs to do anything because it brings neither joy nor sadness. It's not worth anything for me. But that's exactly how we do it. By calling it, looking at it, and calling it something, and say, yes, that's what good relationships look like. Um, One of the things you talked about just a minute ago was you bring in this idea of having in-laws and things like that. Um, but you don't know whether or not your in-laws or the people that you're bringing in have the ability to actually talk about, discuss
Mhm.
what who they actually are. Have they even done that kind of work? And so there's there's all of that, and we look at I'm looking at my particular relationships with people. I make assumptions. I think we all do. This is
Yeah.
what I want, so this is how it's going to go. And then and then we got that whole shocking of, oh, not quite going like I had thought. So so let me shift that idea. What else is there? What could this look like now? What could I do? How can, if I can't have exactly what I was looking at, what else would work here? And so again, shifting the rules of, that's what paradigms are, the rules of life. The rules of life for relationships, which to me meant something. Certainly because I came from an alcoholic parent. And so there was just this whole no discussing of anything. There was no elephant in the room. There was no alcoholism going on. There was nothing. There was never any discussion about anything. So I didn't know how to discuss things. With the way that you did it was just, if you didn't speak it, it wasn't true. It wasn't happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no, yeah. If you just don't look at it, just don't look at it, don't talk about it, and that makes it go away.
Yeah.
That was my life until I saw, oh, there is another way. You actually talking about it helps bring out other people's thinking, and you get to put it on the table and look at it and say, where do we meet? Where do we meet? What are the rules of life for you? The paradigms that you know, and how do they run against the paradigms that I know, and where do these come from? And so, and that's what, so it's a lot of work in that way, but it begins with the courage and the decision to go ahead and look at things and make some decisions and decide who you are and what works for you and what does not. That takes courage and thinking about it and decision making.
Yeah. And being willing to do the work. And because I think with any new paradigm, I have had to grow
Yeah, absolutely.
and evolve in ways that I had not expected,
Right.
things that were required of me that I did not anticipate. But that was okay because most of the time, I think all the time, I sat down and I thought, okay, so this is what is now required of me. I still want what I want.
Exactly.
So I need to shift. I'm going to go ahead and shift. I'm going to do this. And, might have taken some time. I have my learning curve now is so much shorter than it used
Oh
to be.
man. Yes.
Before I would, just vacillate and go back and forth and think, oh, I'm gonna try this. No, I don't want to try. I would do that for weeks, sometimes months. And then finally, now I know, just go.
just
Say
just do
yes
it.
and go. You figure it out in the mix because you don't know what it's like until you step into it.
You don't.
But yes,
You
every
don't.
paradigm required me to grow.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're for. So as you discover the paradigm, you discover yourself. I think you discover more of who you are
You
as
do.
a divine being.
Yeah.
And what else can I call in of my divine gifts for each situation for this growth? I can't be the same person I was in that little box. You know, you just
Exactly.
don't break open the box and decide I'm done with the box and you stay the same. You have to grow with the new paradigm, in the new paradigm, as the new paradigm.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. And what does that look like?
as we shift, the world around us shifts.
Exactly.
So that's the
Exactly.
caveat with, you know, discovering the new paradigms. If you want something new and you're not willing to grow, then it's not time.
It's not time. And that's okay.
And
It's
that's
not
okay.
time.
Just
It's
say
okay.
it's not time, maybe
It's not
later.
time. I'm not ready. Whatever you want to say. And we'll look at it later. It's not going anywhere, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's not
Yes,
going anywhere. It's
and
not going
neither is your
anywhere.
box. You can go back to your box, construct it again,
You can
tape
try.
up, duct tape, tape up the walls, get in, tape yourself
Right.
in.
Right.
And I've
And
done
even
that.
then,
I
yes.
have done that.
Yes.
And sat in the box all duct taped up and went, what the hell did I just
What?
do?
And besides which, this isn't even the same box I was in. What the heck is this box? Like even the idea
Yeah.
of busting out and trying to get back in it, it's already shifted. It's already different. It's already different. Can't do it. We're gonna go ahead and take a little bit of a break real quick, and come on back and talk more about some paradigm busting and bringing in some empowering paradigms. Yeah, we'll see you in a minute.
Put away the duct tape.
All right. So we're back talking about discovering empowering paradigms and really discovering those empowering paradigms comes with it's about discovering you. It's actually a road to you and to the evolving you. And that's what we're here doing all the time. The idea that we can't stay in the same place at once, which we said, I mean, we can't at once. We can't stay in the same place at all. You're either growing or you're shrinking. Either one, you're not staying the same. You just the box that you talked about trying to get back into. Well, I don't like where I went, so let me just go back to where I was. It's impossible. It's
Yeah.
impossible. You've already moved, whether it's been incrementally or whether it's small. You've already moved forward, even if you didn't just by even just deconstructing the box. You've already
Yes.
moved forward. Just the idea of
When you
doing
get
that.
back in it, it's far more claustrophobic.
It's restrictive. It's far more
You're
restrictive.
distracted, far more. You're so much more discontent.
Yes,
So yeah, you can get in there. You can stay in there, but you'll suffer.
exactly.
You suffer.
Exactly.
I did. And
Yes.
then I thought, man, this is a shabby box. I don't know. I'm not doing
No.
this. And
No.
then I get right back out. Once I get to the realization, I think, wow, I just did that to myself.
Yes. Yeah.
How if it was far worse than moving forward and having to grow.
Exactly. Exactly.
I said, oh,
I
okay.
concur.
Let me kick the wall out of this box already. Yeah.
And I think that part of the experience of life, the experiment that is called life, the more that you live it and make moves, conscious and intentional moves towards where you want to be, the more you understand that that's how it's going to work. That's how you're actually going to get where you want to go. And it becomes, well, it's not necessarily, I don't want to use the word easier, but it becomes more absolute. You absolutely know this is the direction I have to go in. Whether I know it may be difficult, it may not be. I'm not going to call difficult in. It may be that, but this is absolutely the direction that must be taken. It has to be taken. There's no, and you get that, so you get there quicker than you did, so that's the beauty of life and its experiences, is that you are learning, you are actually growing. You realize you can't stay there. You get to that realization faster, unless of course you're grieving, and the grieving process is a whole nother issue, and it takes what it takes, and there's no telling what that's going to be. It just is what it is. But beyond the grieving process, just the process of you deciding to step into something different, something more, something greater, because that's what we're here to do, is to be always be becoming, always becoming more greater. This is a process.
Yeah. So we had talked about sharing some stories about how we have discovered different paradigms.
Yeah.
And you want to go into that next?
Yeah.
So I was
Do you
just
have
thinking
any?
about what we discussed with our producer before we came live today about, because that was a paradigm shift for me. We have our plans, and I was a big control person earlier in life, huge control person. I just needed things to go the way I wanted them to go. And if they didn't, I was upset. I was stressed out. I was probably yelling and doing all kinds of other stuff. I might have slammed something. It was just terrible, just terrible. Because we all experience, you make your plans for the day, and life happens. And actually, what we talked about offline before we went live was that is life. There is no here's life and stuff happens.
No.
Life is things happening.
Yes, that's the experience. That's life. The experiences.
Same thing. And
Yes.
once I sat down, because I got tired of being stressed out every day, just about. There might have been some days where things went smoothly and nothing changed. But what I found out was most of the time it was that, and I was exhausted, mentally and emotionally. And so I sat down and I thought, okay, so how do I do this differently? So I opened up my mind about what exactly that this looks like life. And 99% of the time, something doesn't get in my way, but something else happens during the day that I must pay attention to,
Yes.
focus on. Maybe I have to shift my priorities. Maybe something gets canceled. Maybe, something else comes in the mix.
Always.
And I thought, how about if I just roll with it?
What would
Not
happen then?
complain, not slam, not get upset. Just say, oh, okay, let me see what I need to do with my schedule. Or frequently, it was just, what do I have to do about my mindset about this?
Exactly. By thinking about it.
How about if I just accept what is?
Yes.
Hit the easy button and say, okay, obviously you have to do this now.
Yeah.
I had
And
3
the other stuff.
appointments. First one shifted, got to shift the other 2.
Exactly. Love it. Love it.
And to say that I had far less stress is an understatement. I mean, my days just got easier. In fact, I realized that most of the time when I had to shift, it was a better plan.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Just a better plan. Or it was better because I was better. Maybe it's just a plan, but I was better. I was not stressed out. I had far more peace. I enjoyed my days. I enjoyed my appointments. I showed up more present and fully there. Probably people enjoyed me more because, when you come in sweating and fretting about stuff, nobody wants to be with you.
Exactly. Well, we're hearing a little bit from Mel, and she's asking whether she should join, and we're saying yes, absolutely, join us now, because we know she has something to say, so we'll expect her to pop in any second now. But just talking about these stories of paradigms, and just things that you shift. One of the things that I just shared with you guys earlier, just coming from this alcoholic family, where we just didn't talk about anything. So I didn't talk about things. I just felt like if you just keep quiet, things will just go away. They'll just get better and they'll go away. But I married someone who was always in your face, just wanting to talk. Just what's going on? What's happening? Da, 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 just and he would not go away. This is the problem. Okay? It's like, do you even understand the concept of just letting things be? No, no, he did not. No. And so the more and then I found myself getting angry because he wouldn't let it go. And so the whole shift for me, from years of not speaking, which meant that he was trying to speak for me.
Mm.
He was trying to figure out, which pissed me off even more because he was getting it wrong. So it's like, that, that's not how I feel in my mind. I'm not talking to him, just in my mind. That's not how I feel. But yet I wouldn't say how I felt. So the paradigm or the issue will just keep coming back. It won't go away. It'll keep coming back and getting worse and worse until you do something. It's just, that's the way it is. That's how it shifts. It's not easy. It's not something, it's been working for you. And here's why paradigms have to shift, because what was once working no longer is. What was once working no longer is. And this not talking to people, not saying what was on my mind, even though it's on my mind, just not having the courage, because I felt like honestly, I felt like if I said something, I was going to die. Something was going to die. I really did. And so just trying just a little bit at a time to say, all right, how are you really feeling about this? And then not dying. Oh, I survived that. I survived that. And then saying something else. Oh, I survived that. And whoever, it shifted. So not only did I survive, but it shifted to a better place. Oh, okay. So that is the path. That is the path. So that was a paradigm shift, and it didn't come hard, easy. Because I think when you have those paradigms that not necessarily yours, but you were raised with, it takes some pain for you to even realize that they're there and not working, and then some more. It doesn't have to, but that's the beginning of it. Takes a little bit more to go ahead and say, yes, the pain that I'm in, the pain that I'm fearing is less, has to be less than the pain that I'm already in. So let's go ahead and go with it. And that's how it began. It began for me, looking at and then getting more and more interested in shifting the paradigm. So, okay, this is actually a process that works. Let me go ahead and get into it. So yeah, that
And
was
I
mine.
think that's an important paradigm, another shift in a paradigm where you say something might die, but I think with any shift, something does die. It might be how your
Yes,
relationship was before.
yes,
It
yes,
may be how you showed up or he showed up, and then how you are together when you start talking about how you really feel, and we're going to be okay. So there's a
yes,
difference. And so
yes,
that was a shift for me. I could speak up. I can be in my power. Something is going to change, and I'm going to be okay. But in the shifting of the paradigm, I am now a little bit different,
yes,
a
correct.
little bit more expanded.
Exactly.
And that's the thing we have to, that we can accept, that we
Yes,
can move to and say, yeah,
yes,
something is going to die off. It always does when we change.
exactly.
And it's
Yeah,
probably good, and I'm going to be okay.
I'm gonna be okay.
In fact, I'm probably
Well,
going to be more than okay.
exactly, exactly. It was supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen for a reason. So yes, you're gonna be okay. And let's go ahead and give a shout out and a welcome to Melinda. Melinda,
Hi,
so good to see you here, darling.
thank you.
Good to see you too.
Oh, we're so glad you made it.
Me too. I'm so sorry I'm late. I
No,
had
no,
no
no need
idea
to.
how long his doctor's appointment would
Yes.
last today and didn't have the phone in the room with me, so I couldn't even text y'all. So I beat feet out of there as quickly as I could. It's good to
It's
see
all
you.
good.
No, so glad to have you. And that, part of the thing that we talk about a lot in terms of our lives is that we look at our values and, we prioritize our values. And right now, what's going on with Bob, that's a high priority for you. And we get that. We honor it. We understand it. And we bless you. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So,
this is a great example of the paradigm shift we just talked about.
A
PJ
paradigm
and
shift.
I didn't stress about you not being here. We knew if you could,
yeah.
you would.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
also knew if you're not, that meant you were taking care of something that you needed to do. And we
Yeah.
just flowed with it, said it's all good no matter how it shows up.
It's a paradigm shift for me too to because I've talked to y'all about this,
Yeah.
do I need
Yeah.
to not do the show if I know that I can't be here all the time? And there was a time in my life when, nope, if I can't do it perfectly,
Okay. Yes.
I will
Perfectly in your
not
mind.
do it. Exactly.
Yes.
Perfectly in
And
my mind.
in your mind, this
I
is
was never
perfect.
perfect in anybody else's mind, but I have my way, my idea of this is the
Yes.
way it has to
Yes.
be.
Yes.
And learning to just let go of that and go, okay, this is what I can do. And not everybody has a paradigm that y'all have that would be okay with that.
Right.
And so I have to be okay with that too. I mean, if you were other
Exactly.
people and said, no, if you can't be here for the whole thing, don't show up. We don't want you. If you can't be here every week, we need to do this without you. And that would have had to be okay too. And I would have been fine.
Exactly.
And I would have been
Exactly.
fine. But I
Yeah.
like it better this way.
We
I
do
like it
too.
better
We
this way
want you
because, we love
wherever we can get you. We want you anytime you can show up, and we know that you're going to be beautiful and share your life, which is what we're doing here. We're just sharing our lives, how it show up.
and hearing you talk about that paradigm shift, PJ, really made me think of one of the great paradigm shifts of my life is when I realized that I had to trust God more than I trusted anybody else in the situation.
Mm.
Because
Mm.
if we're thinking about a paradigm shift, about showing up differently in relationship, if our whole thing is, and then that will make him, or then she will have to,
Right.
or
I'm doing
then,
it so that can.
yes, then
Nope.
it has to
Nope.
be, I am showing up in this way because it is necessary for me to be whole this way.
Oh, I
And if
love that.
you go away, it will hurt me, but I will be a whole person.
Yes.
For me, it was framed in terms of, there's no right or wrong with, if I make one decision, God is there. If I make a different decision, God is there. And I
Absolutely.
had to know that I would be there for me too. There was never a question that God was going to be there, but I had to know I would be there. Because if I tell myself up front, I can't, if he leaves, it's all over. Then when he leaves, I'm
It's
going to
all
have
over.
an experience of it's all over. But when
Correct.
I tell myself, if he leaves, then God will be with
He's-
me and I'll figure out what's next.
Exactly. Exactly. And there's always more. There's
Yeah,
always
there's
more.
always
It's
more.
different. There's more. There's different. I don't know exactly how it's going to show up, but I know there's more.
But we have to be willing to be there for ourselves to
I
know.
love that. You're exactly right.
I have a neighbor who, bless her heart, a lovely, lovely woman who loves animals, loves my animals and loves her animals. And, but she has said to me several times that when a certain dog of hers, when he dies, it's not okay. She's just said, he's never going to die. It's not going to happen. He's never going to die. It's not okay.
Wow.
And I'm
Wow.
like, well, he is. And so if you've already pre-decided to not be okay when he does, then how much pain have you just invited on yourself?
Exactly.
And it's painful enough to lose a pet without
It
setting
is.
yourself up for, I will never be okay again, or it
Right.
can't happen.
Right.
To go, I have had the privilege of loving this creature who has a shorter lifespan than I.
Right.
And so that's always part of the bargain. It's always part of the bargain. So grateful for the time I had. Will honor my grief when it happens. And we'll go on.
Another thing, because I love that about what you just said, and I really believe this. I believe that animals are sensitive. They know us, they love us, and all of that. So with her saying that, how long would that animal try to hang on, knowing that she doesn't want to let him go? Seriously, they'll, so you're inflicting more pain on that animal as well. They will. They'll hang on. In fact, that letting Spike go was so that he wouldn't just keep hanging on. I knew he needed to go. That's a hard thing, but come on.
It's a hard thing.
It's a hard thing, but it all is. All death, whether it's actual physical death or the death of a relationship, whatever it may be, that it's a doorway to the next thing. It's the doorway to the next thing. And
every new beginning requires a death of some sort.
It just
every
does.
New beginning
It
requires a
does.
death of some sort.
It does. It
and
does.
every
And the more we
death
rail,
brings a new beginning.
it just does. And the more we rail about it, we're just putting it off and suffering. We're just causing more suffering. That's all we're doing. Not putting it off, suffering. So yeah.
And that's right. You know, I share that paradigm with you, Melinda, that God is in everything.
Mm,
So even if I let go of a relationship or my pet dies or something else happens, God is in that grieving. God is in the, I don't know what this is right now. I just know I released something and I'm being present in what is.
yes, that
It
part.
doesn't feel real good now, but God is with me in it, in that.
Exactly.
Yes. In the
Yeah.
hallway. In the hallway.
Tell me that.
Uh, Reverend
Is that a
Ellen
poem or
Davenport
something? Oh.
talks about it being it's hell in the hallway.
Hell in the
But there's
hallway.
light at the door. That we've walked out a door, we've closed it behind us. That chapter is over. We may not know what's next, and we may be hanging out in the hallway for a while before we find the next door that's ours to walk through.
I love that. That
But
sounds
God
like a
is in the hallway.
song.
God
Oh
is
my
in the
God.
hallway.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. We need to take a quick break, guys, and come back to this beautiful discussion. So glad to have you, all of us. We're
So
glad to have
glad to be here.
you. Yes.
I love you guys. We're back.
Okay,
We're not.
then.
We're back.
One more time.
Yeah, just dancing. All right. So we're just
Any
talking
other
about, yes.
paradigms that have shifted? The empowering paradigms we're talking about today.
Yeah. Well, it's the faith and courage, and what does that actually look like for me, and the shifting of that, of what faith looks like,
Mm.
what answered prayer looks like. And it was always a thing for me where you just don't ask for too much. I'm saying all the time that the universe is abundant, God is abundant, it's God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And yet I wasn't willing to open up to the entirety of the kingdom. Like there had to be some worthiness quotient going on. Had I done enough? Had I been doing enough prayers? Was I on my knee? I don't know. I have no idea what was going on in my mind about what was necessary for spirit to answer a prayer. And something, I don't know, maybe it was the loss of the relationship that I had that I thought was going to be lasting for the rest of my life. I don't know. So many things shift that my relationship with spirit shifted, and understanding what answered prayer looks like, and that the universe is abundant and all of that. So what's happening now? So the shift for me now is not that whatever shows up, will be, and I'll just say that everything that shows up is okay. It's not that. I'm actually expecting what I asked for to show up, which is a very different thing. What I was saying before was, I'll ask for something, and whatever shows up, it will be good enough. No, that's a whole different shift, because once I went through that darkness, that grieving process, there was a place of me that came out and just said, well, what do you want? Have you been claiming at all your whole life what you want? And I had not. I had been claiming what other people thought I should have, what the community said marriage looked like, that I should be with this person for this reason, that reason, or the other reason. None of it was what I was asking for. None of it was what I said I wanted. So it began to, so the faith walk for me began with what I call a covenant. I just said, I need to see you. I need to have proof in my own mind of our relationship and how it works. And so I just went into a covenant with Spirit and said, I'm going to speak to you every single day. I want to feel you moving in me, guiding me, telling me what's going on, and I'm going to listen and do that. And that was in 2005. I've been doing that every single day. And even if I miss a day, I know I'm connected. It's not that I have to pray every day, but a covenant is important to me because I said I would. So I do. But now I get the whole shift was that I can just actually ask spirit for what I want, breathe, and know that it is done, regardless of what my bank account looked like. If I'm asking for money, no matter what my closet looked like, no matter what I had a ticket in my hand when I was asking, it didn't matter. The physical thing didn't need to be in my hand. I just knew if I said it, it was coming, and I'm going to let go of how it's coming. It's coming, and it's coming on time. It's coming, and it's coming on time. That is a huge shift for me in my understanding of how my walk with spirit works. It's just a matter of deciding. It's a matter of deciding and being very clear about what it is I want and knowing that spirit responds. And the moment I pray, it's already done. I'm just waiting for it to physically appear, but it's already done. That I'm not convinced of. I know for sure. I know in my own heart for sure. It's already done. So that's a different faith walk for me. That's a shift. That's a huge shift for me.
For me, it's really important to know that the prayer is answered, the desire of my heart is answered, but I don't necessarily know how. It may show up as different from what I pictured in my mind, but if I'm paying attention, I will see that it showed up. And if I'm so married to my mind, then I'm not married to what Spirit's given me. I'm married to my own mind. And so I make a space and I say, show me, show me
all the time, the time. Show me, what does this look like? Is it here? Spirit will say something like, just do it and I'll provide the rest. Okay. So what I love to say this, what's mine to do? I get what yours to do. So what's mine to do?
What's mine to do?
Tell me, be clear about what's mine to do. I'll do is mine. What is mine? I'll leave the rest of it to you. I'll leave it all to you if that's what's mine, but what is mine to do? And Spirit's very clear. Spirit, well, I want you to do this. And sometimes I don't want to do it. Like, really? Okay.
That was my next question. What about when you just really go,
really?
No, I'm probably not willing quite yet. No.
But I said I would. That's the covenant. I said I would. What's mine to do? You told me. All right, fine. Put your big girl panties on and go ahead and go. And it works. Not sometimes, every time. Yeah. That's all.
Now, I remember when I was manifesting my relationship with my husband. And, I said before you came on, Melinda, that I actually sat down in my meditation time and I would I would say out loud the attributes that he had and that I appreciated, enjoyed in this new relationship, because I'm envisioning that relationship. Mm-hmm. And the man who showed up as that would eventually be my husband was nothing like any other guy I had ever dated. So much so that he was already in my life. And I didn't recognize that as a relationship possibility. He had been in my life for a few years.
Yeah.
And so I'm envisioning this and wondering, where's this guy coming from? Where is he coming from? He's going to come. And he had been in my life until one day I went, oh, that's him. Sometimes I'm a slow study. I was then.
And the whole time he was going, when is she going to get it? Here I am. I'm right here. I'm right here.
He's going, woo, hello. And I'm off looking at the shiny things.
Looking around, because it looked different. It looks different. It has to look different, because if it looked the same, you'd already be there. It has to look different.
And I remember distinctly where I was, what time of day it was when it happened. And I was actually heading out on a date with someone else. And I was leaving Quentin's apartment. We just spent the early part of the day together. Again, I wanted companionship. I already had it with Quentin, but he was not the guy I was dating. So I'm going down the stairs, leaving his apartment to get changed and go out. And I'm heading down the stairs where I got to the door to leave. I went, why am I leaving? I'm having a great time with this one, but heading out with the other one who I know I don't want. He was fun. We went to great places. And that night I told him, this has been fun and all, but I'm done. I wish you the best. This was kind of working, but not working.
Not working.
And he wasn't interested in doing anything else other than we were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was like, oh, okay, you know,
Okay, fine.
invested that much. And then I think I came home, and I don't know when that was, before I eventually asked Quentin out on a date. But yeah, heading down the stairs and went, what am I doing?
What's going on here? Yeah.
I'm having the best time of my life here, just watching movies, eating pizza, not doing anything special, not dressed up to go out.
Mm.
Yeah, nothing special was special.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nothing special was
It
special.
was easy. It was so easy.
Easy.
Yes.
Simple.
Sometimes we think it's got to be hard.
Ah,
Yeah.
I mean,
there were no grand gestures. There was just, in fact, we're still like that 20 some years later. We don't do the big things. He doesn't have to show up, you know, with the surprises and dozens of roses and stuff like that, because he does such simple things for me that just make my heart open up. And I go, oh my gosh, you were paying attention. Oh my gosh, you thought of me.
yes.
The little things.
Yes.
And that's what I wanted and didn't quite know till I went, oh my gosh. And it can be as simple as, I'll go to the grocery store with you, or I'll go for you. How about if you stay home and rest? I'll go to the store. Nobody had ever said that to me before.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I'm out.
Exactly.
Is there anything you need? Any place
Yeah.
I can stop and get something for you?
Well, yeah.
Are you hungry? I'll pick up dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
just thinking about you. Yeah. Just thinking about you. Like, yeah.
You know, what came to mind as you two were talking about that, about getting clear about what you wanted, you know, naming the attributes. I think for me, it wasn't so much naming the attributes, but I was very, very clear on what I wanted to feel.
Yeah.
Okay.
On how I want, on what I needed to feel in relationship. I had felt scared. I had felt on the verge of abandonment. I had felt undervalued and unappreciated. And I knew I didn't want any of that stuff. I knew that I wanted to feel like my best self in the presence of whoever was going to be my mate. And to know that he also recognized me as that, who wasn't wanting something from me that wasn't me, or that wasn't mine to give, or, you know, and so I wasn't, it was not at all an intellectual process, but it was very much a feeling process. But it's really the same thing.
It is. It is.
Before, my paradigm had been, I need someone who just won't go away, no matter how crappy he is while he's here. If I know he's not
no matter how much you want
then
him
I
to go
don't get
away.
abandoned. And that was my bottom line. I hadn't said it out loud, but the paradigm that I was silently living from is, don't leave me.
Yes.
And so I was with someone who would never have left me, but I was miserable.
When is he leaving?
Miserable. The he won't leave, when I finally really understood that that's the paradigm I'd been living under. It's like, he'll never leave. It was like, oh God, he'll never leave. Oh no.
Oh no.
Somebody's going to leave. It's going to have to be me, because he'll never leave.
Right. Right.
But so I had a very clear emotional understanding of what I wanted and where I wanted, of what was mine to feel, of what felt like the right relationship. And same thing, when I stopped looking, there it was.
There it was.
I certainly wasn't looking at the place where it happened from.
That's it.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, as Melinda was saying, that often as I was naming those attributes, I was naming them with tears in my eyes.
You were.
And my heart was open, and I would just have happy tears talking about it. And that's when I knew I had hit on what resonated with me, with my heart. So yes, I love that she added that.
That's beautiful. And I know one of the things that's happening for me, you know, because you guys are talking, both of you are talking about relationships, and I'm finally at a place where I'm even conditioning how I'm saying it, that I may be open to a relationship, but it's just, there's just so many things that I'm looking at for myself right now, is for the paradigm shifts that I'm having, of what I discovered in both relationships that I had before was that I gave myself away. Like I just
Mm.
gave over fully to being a wife, and was completely losing myself in it. And that can't happen ever again, because I like myself. I like what I'm doing. I like where I'm going. And so the person who comes into my, if a person comes in, I'm okay either way. I really am, because I do like who I am and I do like my life. It would be nice to have a companion though. And so should that happen, it would have to be, as I'm looking at the way that paradigms work and how you get empowering ones, you have to say what it is that you're looking for. And for me, it has to be that someone likes who I am exactly the way that I am. They're not trying to come in to change me, to shift me around, which has always been what happened in my relationships. I was good, but apparently not good enough, and so there was always these little tweaks that they
Mm.
needed to make in order for me to be okay, and for me to be okay for them in the relationship. But now I know I'm not willing to do that, because I am okay. I like who I am. I am okay. I like lots of things. I have friends. And I'm not going to give any of that up. And so maybe that means that I won't have a relationship. But I think that there is somebody in this world that's big enough to get that, to have their own life as well, and doesn't need me to give it up, because they're not going to give theirs up either. We're just going to come together with who we are and what we have, and have that work. And I believe that's something that can happen. I'm looking forward to that, to meeting someone that can do that. So
Yeah,
that's
two
the
whole
paradigm.
persons coming together and creating something that's
It created that third
bigger
thing.
than the sum of your parts.
Exactly correct. And I really believe that that's possible. Um, so I'm not going to uh, settle for anything less. That
Yeah.
I'm not going to settle for anything less. And until then, we have it. In the meantime, I have a great relationship with myself, and I certainly have a great relationship with spirit. So those are two great relationships that I love. And if a third relationship comes in with a companion, that would be great too. That would be great too. So I'm open to all of those things. So we are running out. We've got maybe another minute or so.
Minutes
Anything
to
you want to say?
share a final thought.
Yeah.
I think I am committed to growth,
Yeah.
and I know that requires me to change. I have to have, like you said, uh, PJ, courage and faith
Yeah.
to step forward. And so um, I think being committed to growth and to being open to what can be
Yes.
is important in this. There is no shifting of paradigms without it.
No.
And
Absolutely not.
realizing that if we want a richer life, that it is going to require change and shift. Change and shift are happening anyway, every day in our lives. And we're either rolling with it, growing with it, pulling out what we want, releasing what we don't want, and continuing to move forward. I want to be a part of that, because there is, like you said, no stagnant.
Yeah. It's not standing
You're
still.
growing or you're regressing.
That's it.
So what do I want to do? I want to move with life, and I want to find the richness that is in it, and that requires me to be open.
Exactly. We're just doing some final words, Mel. What final thoughts do you want to share with us?
So I would say, for me, paradigm shift is about trust.
Mm.
I have to trust in my higher power. I say I do. I have to put my money where my mouth is,
Yes.
and I have to trust myself,
Yes.
because that's really what it is.
It is.
What fear is about is that I don't really trust myself, or I don't really trust my higher power, or both.
Right.
Otherwise,
Right.
it's not so easy. It's not so hard, because
Yeah.
there's nothing really at stake when you realize that on this side of the shift, I am with me and God is with me. And on the other side of the shift, whatever happens, I am with me and God is with me.
On both sides.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Beautifully put. Beautifully put. Well, I think we've come to the end of our talk today. I'm so glad you were able to make it, and hope all is well. You girls, ladies, have a great week. And everyone who showed up and watched, you guys have a great week. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks, Zoe, for a great show today.
Thank you, everybody.
So,
Yeah.
thank you.